Hello, lovely people. Today I'm going to be reading one of my favorite books from childhood, and that book is The One and Only Delaney. I love this book, and I hope that you enjoy it too. Merrily, 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 merrily. One morning, Miss Sparks said, "Oh, Delaney, I like your skirt. Please tell us about it." Delaney skipped to the front of the room. She twirled around. All the children said, "Ooh." Delaney said, "I love this skirt because it has musical notes on it, and I love music because it makes people happy." Logan said, "We know that you love music, Delaney." "Yes," said Skylar, "you are always humming or whistling or singing." "That's right." Miss Sparks sat down at the piano and asked Delaney, "What is your favorite song?" Delaney said, "Row, row, row your boat." Miss Sparks said, "Let's sing it now." All the children sang, "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream." Spencer pretended that he was rowing a boat. Soon all the children were rowing. When the song was over, all the children clapped and smiled. The sparkles on Miss Sparks' eyeglasses glittered. She said, "Delaney is right. Music can make people happy." "Can it, children?" All the children said, "Yes." Then Miss Sparks said, "Let's pretend that we have rowed our boats all the way out to sea. What creatures live in the sea?" Lots of children raised their hands. The class was learning about fish, crabs, seabirds, seahorses, snails, whales, and all sorts of creatures that live in the sea. Avery raised her hand and said, "We might see whales." Miss Sparks said, "Yes." She pointed to 3 pictures of whales. She said, "We might see these 3 whales." "Ooh," said the children. Miss Sparks asked, "Who can use the words big, bigger, and biggest to tell me about these whales?" Connor raised his hand and said, "The gray whale is big, the black whale is bigger, and the blue whale is the biggest of all." "Yes," said Miss Sparks, "big, bigger, and biggest are words that we use to compare things." Miss Sparks held up 3 pictures of fish. She said, "We might also see these 3 fish in the sea. Who can use the words small, smaller, and smallest to compare these fish?" Gwen raised her hand and said, "The green fish is small, the purple fish is smaller, and the red fish is the smallest of all." "Yes," said Miss Sparks, "small, smaller, and smallest are words we use to compare things." Lindy said, "I like sea creatures." All the children said, "Me too." Miss Sparks smiled. She said, "In 2 weeks, our class is going to give a program for other students here at Hopscotch Hill School. Would you like our program to be about sea creatures?" All the children said yes. Miss Sparks said, "Splendid. You may all choose a sea creature. I will help you decide how you want to share information about your sea creature. You can draw a sea creature, you can talk about it, or write a poem about it. You can pretend to be a sea creature, you can work on your presentation by yourself, or you can work with friends." Delaney said, "I'd like to do a presentation about whales." "Who wants to work with me?" Avery said, "I do." Skylar said, "Me too." Delaney said, "Great, it'll be fun to work together." Miss Sparks smiled. Miss Sparks said, "Children, do you know that some whales hum or whistle or sing?" Who does that remind you of? All the children called out, Delaney! Miss Sparks said, that's right. Let's sing Delaney's favorite song again. Everyone sang, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Miss Sparks sang loud, the children sang louder, and Delaney sang loudest of all. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Good, better, and best. Delaney, Skylar, and Avery were excited about their whale presentation. Skylar found 3 books about whales. Skylar said, let's read these books to find out more about whales. Delaney and Avery said, okay. The 3 girls began to read. At first, Delaney hummed happily, but then she stopped humming. Her book was hard to read. Delaney looked at Skylar. Skylar was not having any trouble reading her book. Delaney said, hey, Skylar, my book is too hard for me. May I read your book instead? Skylar said, sure. Skylar and Delaney traded books. Again, Delaney tried to read, but Skylar's book was harder than her first book. Delaney looked at Avery's book. Delaney saw that Avery's book was the hardest book of all. Delaney did not know what to do. She had always thought that she was such a good reader, but now she compared herself to Avery and Skylar. Delaney could see that Skylar was a better reader than she was, and Avery was the best reader of all. Delaney said sadly, I'm not very good at reading. I think I should choose something else for my presentation. Avery and Skylar looked sad. Slowly they said, well, okay. Then Hallie said, oh, Delaney, please come and work with Lindy and me. We are drawing pictures of seabirds. Okay, said Delaney, I like seabirds. I will draw a seagull. At first, Delaney whistled happily, but then she stopped whistling. Her drawing did not look pretty. Delaney looked at Lindy's drawing. Lindy's drawing of a duck was much prettier than Delaney's drawing of a seagull. Then Delaney looked at Hallie's drawing. Hallie's drawing of a pelican was the prettiest drawing of all. Delaney did not know what to do. She had always thought that she was good at drawing, but now she compared herself to Lindy and Hallie. Delaney could see that Lindy was better at drawing than she was, and Hallie was the best of all. Delaney said sadly, I'm not very good at drawing. I think I should choose something else for my presentation. Lindy and Hallie looked sad, and slowly they said, well, okay. Just then, Connor said, hey, Delaney, come work with Gwen and me. We are going to show how crabs walk. Watch. Connor and Gwen put their hands on the floor. Lickety-split, quickety-quick. They walked sideways like crabs. Delaney said, that looks like fun. Delaney put her hands on the floor. Lickety-split, quickety-quick. Delaney walked sideways like a crab. At first, Delaney sang happily to herself, but then she stopped singing. She was too out of breath to sing. She could not walk sideways very fast. Delaney looked at Connor. Connor could walk sideways much faster than she could. Then Delaney looked at Gwen. Gwen could walk sideways fastest of all. Delaney did not know what to do. She had always thought that she could move fast, but now she compared herself to Connor and Gwen. Delaney could see that Connor could move faster than she could, and Gwen could move the fastest of all. Delaney said sadly, I'm not very good at walking like a crab. I think I should choose something else for my presentation. Connor and Gwen looked sad, and slowly they said, well, okay. Then Logan said, howdy, Delaney. Come work with Spencer and Nathan and me. I'm writing funny poems about seahorses. Nathan is writing funny riddles about snails. And Spencer is writing funny jokes about fish. Would you like to write something funny too? Delaney shook her head sadly. She said no thank you. Delaney was discouraged. She knew that Logan was funny. Nathan was funnier. And Spencer was the funniest of all. When Delaney compared herself to them, she didn't feel very funny at all. Delaney sighed. She sat down beside herself, next to the piano. Miss Sparks came by. Miss Sparks said, "Hello, Delaney. I'm making a list of presentations. What will you be doing for our program?" Delaney looked down at her hands in her lap. "Nothing," she said softly. Fish and snails and crabs and whales. Miss Sparks said sadly, "Delaney, will you tell me why you do not want to do a presentation?" Delaney said, "Oh, Miss Sparks, I can't read as well as Skylar and Avery. I can't draw as well as Hallie and Lindy. I can't move as fast as Connor and Gwen. And I can't be as funny as Logan, Nathan, and Spencer." Miss Sparks said, "I understand. You've been comparing yourself to other children, and that has made you sad." "Yes," said Delaney. "Everyone does everything better than I do." Miss Sparks said, "I know something that you do better than anyone else." Delaney said, "You do?" "Yes," said Miss Sparks. "You are the best at being you." Delaney smiled just a little bit. Miss Sparks said, "Every day you hum and whistle and sing. You love music, and you love to share your love of music." Miss Sparks played a few notes on the piano. She said, "Remember when we sang this morning? Our whole class was happy because of you, the one and only Delaney. You are very good at making people happy with music." Miss Sparks gave Delaney a little hug. Delaney thought about what Miss Sparks had said. Then Delaney smiled a big smile. She jumped up and said, "I think I have an idea for a presentation." "Splendid," said Miss Sparks. She was smiling too. The sparkles on her eyeglasses were glittering. At last it was the day for Miss Sparks' class to present its program about sea creatures. All the children were excited. Students from other classes came to Miss Sparks' classroom. The visiting students sat on the floor. First, Avery and Skylar told interesting facts about whales. The visiting students clapped. Then Hallie and Lindy showed pretty drawings of seabirds. The visiting students said, "Ooh." Next, Connor and Gwen walked sideways very fast like crabs. The visiting student said, "Wow." After that, Logan, Nathan, and Spencer told funny poems and riddles and jokes, and the visiting students laughed and laughed and laughed. Finally, Miss Sparks sat at the piano. She said, "Our last presentation is by Delaney." Delaney stood up. She had a tambourine. She said to the visiting students, "My presentation is different because everyone in our class is in it. We are going to sing a song for you. I wrote new words to a song you all know." Delaney began to play the tambourine. The other students pretended to row. The children sang together, "Row, row, row your boat, look and you will see fish and snails and crabs and whales swimming in the sea." "Hooray!" the visiting students cheered. They clapped and clapped. They loved Delaney's song. Delaney said, "Now, let's all sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat together." Everyone sang, "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream." Delaney smiled as she sang. She was happy that the students liked her song about fish and snails and crabs and whales. She was even happier that everyone was singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat together now. But Delaney was the happiest of all that she was herself, the one and only Delaney, who made people happy with music. Delaney sang, "Merrily, merrily, 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 life is but a dream." Dear parents, your child is one-of-a-kind kid, with style and a smile all his or her own. But he or she is at an age now when they're comparing themselves to others more than ever before. Who's the fastest runner at school? Who's the best reader? Who's the funniest or the friendliest or the smartest? Like Delaney, your child is figuring out who he or she is by measuring him or herself against their peers, and they may fear that they're coming up short. Take advantage of the attention he or she is giving to others by showing them that there are differences that make us interesting. Try the following activities designed to encourage your child to appreciate those differences in others and themselves. You can help them identify their special talents and traits and remind them that they've already mastered one skill, the art of being their one and only true self, the precious boy or girl that you love. I hope that y'all enjoyed this, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful day.